The garage is precision. Fresh out the kitchen.
No.
That's R. Kelly.
I don't know if they want to be associated with that.
No.
Yeah.
They will not pee on your garage door. Can't get out of this one. Chinese finger trap.
Precision. Oh no.
You're doing Thriller? Another pedophile. Great job.
God damn it.
Everybody's a pedophile.
Precision over Baghdad. Oh, that's fine.
Precision over Baghdad. Go national underground.
I'm sorry. Precision
garage door. I have a precision garage door. You do. Yep. Tony Rage does. Seth Petrozelli does. My father-in-law does.
I literally just I left my house the other day and I was like, did I leave the GD garage door open? Because I go in and out of my garage. I stopped using my front door.
I think most people do that. I think most people leave their front door. We don't go out of our front door. We go out of the garage.
Yeah.
It's just what you do. But you know what's funny?
And then when I left, I was like, did I? And then I just checked my app. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Well, you can get texts too, which is really nice. Like if you didn't shut it, like after a certain period of time, it will text you and say like, "Yo, dum dum, you didn't put your garage door down." Which for dum dums like us is really really good. Here's another thing. I'm a simple man, simple pleasures. Pull up on my scooter. Obviously, on a scooter, I don't have a button to open my garage door. Reach in, grab my phone, hit the button, garage opens, drive my scooter in like a total boss, shut it with the same button, go inside. It's awesome.
And then if you get the Wi-Fi motor like we got, the whole silent package.
You want another fun fact?
They put the plastic rollers on, so it's silent. It's not.
You can't hear it. Here's another fun fact. This is a fact. I have never had because it's Wi-Fi controlled, never had it lose conductivity. Ever. It is never, ever not been connected. It is probably the most reliable thing in my house, which isn't saying much, but hey, Precision Garage Door does a damn fine job. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, I know Seth got one. I know our buddy Tony Rodriguez. He got the silent package.
Mine's not even as silent as it should be because they put a bank-owned one in and screwed up the door. But if you need a new door, they can do that for you. They do it. They're a one-stop shop. They'll come in a truck that says Precision Garage Door.
Yeah.
It's all that they do, and they've done it for many, many years.
Yeah, and you'll get 5% off a whole new door if you need that. Ask for a Tom and Dan discount. If you use them, let them know you're a Tom and Dan listener, a BDM listener. And here's a specific number just for you guys to call, and that's what gives us credit. That's what lets them know you're a listener. It's 407-710-BDMS. That's 407-710-2367. That number is going to go to their call center, but that will show them that you are a listener, and then they know that you heard this from us.
Yeah, it really does help us if you give us credit. I know sometimes people are shy, and it might be a little weird to say that, but
if you call that number, that's all you need.
We like for our our clients and people we work with, we like the accountability of having them say, hey, like even yesterday we had Blanchard come in. They were like, hey, I had a bunch of BDMs call. We love that. That means that that the relationship we have with our clients is working and that it's give take.
100%. That's how you guys can help us if you use Precision, which is a great company. So if you have any garage door issues or if you want that Tom and Dan silent package, just call the number 407-710-BDMS.
Booty hole string.
In the boy, the larynx and the vocal cords change so that his voice acquires the deeper pitch of a man's voice. The shoulders become broader, thighs grow longer, and the muscles become stronger. Hair begins to grow on the face, under the arms, and in the pubic area.
You are a man, and in taking on the role of the world's second greatest gender, you must adhere to a gentleman's guide to manliness.
Welcome to A Gentleman's Guide, Corona edition. Kramer's on Skype. How you doing, Kramer?
Hey.
There he is, ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Kramer. And could you turn to the side just for a second? I got you full screen so everybody can say Last Samurai, Stephen Kramer. I like the Last Samurai look because you kind of always had a Tom Cruise-y vibe.
Yeah.
So now you are Last Samurai, which everyone hated that movie except for me. I actually enjoyed that movie.
I have a lot of swords, a lot of wakizashi. I got a wakizashi. I got katanas.
Oh, can we see?
Will you do a chopping video? Will you chop some like milk jugs like that fat kid on oh man, I've watched that kid. If I could meet him, I would hug his face. I have enjoyed his videos so much, and I don't mean disrespect when I say fat kid. It's just an easy. It's actually an uncreative way for me to describe what he looks like. But I knew
if you were a fat kid, you're allowed to say it. I think, right?
I guess, and I really wasn't. I mean, I guess a fatter dad counts, but. That kid has brought me so much enjoyment with those milk jug stabbing videos. They're so good. I mean, that kid, I've enjoyed that more than I've enjoyed almost anything Star Wars except for Mandalorian. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Kramer.
I bought a piece of art once that came in like messed up, and I wrote the artist, and he's like, "All right, send me a video showing you destroyed it, and I'll give you another. I'll make another one for you." So I did take a sword and chop it on video for him. And
I remember that.
To make him smile.
I remember that.
Will you chop some stuff today?
Oh, look how happy Tom is. I want you to do some chopping.
Okay. Well, I want to see. Do you have your swords anywhere near you,
or do you have an old dog that we can chop?
Yeah.
No.
A bird, maybe.
How about
I'm
a
trying
bird?
to rehabilitate my image from the years of doing the show together, and for whatever reason, I just don't think that's going to help that project.
Oh, so finally we agree that we've done damage to your brand? We've been telling you that for years.
Well, the only way to fix it is to chop a bird.
Yeah, everyone knows the only way to fix it's the only way out. The only way out, once you're Tom and Dan, you're Tom and Dan for life. The only way out is much like a gang of the mafia. We either get to beat you out, which we're not going to do because we love you.
It's a jump in or a jump out, right?
So you go with plan B, which is B for bird, chop the bird.
Yeah. One
good chopping.
Family pet will take a gerbil or whatever.
Too hard to chop.
Yeah, if you have a
goldfish. Why would you want to hurt a gerbil? Done nothing to you, but birds.
In Royal Tenenbaums where Chaz Tenenbaum breeds Dalmatian mice and he sells them to make money?
Yes.
I bred hamsters when I was a kid and sold them to pet stores.
Oh, you just got to text from your wife. You're ruining your brand again. I heard it.
They're telling
you're
you
not chopping a bird. I'm downstairs watching on Twitch. You're not chopping birds. Get off the phone with them now.
Yeah. Don't talk to them. I told you.
You're an idiot. We had a full month. We've made a lot of traction in the month.
Yeah, one bird will destroy every gain that we made.
Go for the obvious one bird for life.
We're out of practice, Steve.
Chopcom.
Chopcom. Hold on, I have to write that's the name of the show.
It's one bird for life, Chopcom. And then you chop it. It's kind of like
I'm buying that right now. I have tears in my eyes, Steven. You can't see them.
You know,
I can only see Tom.
Yeah, because OBS doesn't play nice. Yeah. Look, we have to do everything free here. I have to use free software to switch cameras, which, by the way, it looks a lot better than most of you guys out there using the stuff that costs a lot of money, just to toot my own horn. But I'm just going to say, One Bird for Life Chopcom is the greatest thing I've ever heard in my life.
See, I know the secret reason that you're putting Tom and I on camera together is because either A, we interrupt each other a lot, or B, because you want us to go at it.
No. It's just easier for the guest to see, like, the camera one. Honestly, there is a method to this. The reason I don't put me on there is because I move around a lot, like pressing buttons, and sometimes I'm out of frame, and I'm afraid that's going to weird people out because it did weird out one of our guests that we interviewed via Zoom or Skype, and they were like, I could see them, like, they're like, where's he going? And I'm like, I'll just put it on Tom. It's just easier that way. Because you're more consistent than I am, right?
So speaking of birds, by the way, I read an article. It was weird because I was actually doing it, that bird watching is up.
Well, that's only
because people are home.
Yeah, there's nothing else to do.
Nothing else to look at. And you can't buy a Nintendo. You can't buy a Nintendo Switch because they're all out of print or out of stores.
So I dug mine. I bought it when it came. Actually, Sam gave me one for my birthday or something a few years ago when they came out, and I put it away. I hadn't played with it forever since I finished up Zelda, and that was like my. I went on a rabid search for it, and then I found it, but then I couldn't find the charger, and it was a big ordeal. But long story short, I got my Switch, so I'm stoked.
Nice. Well, come see me tonight, this afternoon, 3 p.m. Taking everybody a tour on my Animal Island.
Yeah.
It's Danimal Crossing, episode 1.
We'll have to send gamer tags to each other.
Okay, we can do that.
we're gonna start today doing some video gaming on Twitch.
I hate not following through with stuff, and it's a pet peeve. And Steven and I have talked about, I think we even did an episode of A Gentleman's Guide where we talked about how a gentleman, it's one thing to put the idea out there, but you actually do lose character, and I believe this. My dad was never one of these guys that would say he was going to do stuff all the time and never follow through. And I feel like if we're going to keep on brand here, a gentleman follows through. And for a year now, we have said we wanted to get the Twitch component, and we were working on it, but other things happen. Now we're dealing with a virus. We've had deaths and tragedies and all kinds of stuff. Life gets in the way. But we are following through today with episode 1 of us on Twitch and using Twitch for what it's intended. Other than IRL broadcast, which we do daily, we're going to do some gaming. And I'm pretty stoked about it, man.
Well, and that's the difference between honesty and integrity, right? Honesty is making your words conform to your thoughts. Integrity is making your actions conform to your words.
I love that.
And I think, we're notorious for not following through with stuff we say on the show, but it's different.
I think we have a pretty decent rate compared to a lot of people I know.
Yeah.
We all know that one guy.
What they say they're going to do. I mean, all the lofty goals that we all have in life. I mean, it's one thing to tell yourself something. That's different than telling other people, I guess. But I mean,
we all know that one guy, though, that is always tossing out these really good ideas, but then none of them get off the ground, and we know that person, and I just don't want to be that guy. So we start today.
I have many bad ideas and do execute on all of them, good and bad. So
I thought about this last night before I went to bed. I was thinking, I'm excited to see Steve. We haven't seen him in a month. We get to talk, some good old A Gentleman's Guide. What is the biggest thing? And I know you hate dipping your toe into law, especially when you have a sweet samurai bun. But do you honestly believe that it's going to be, once this thing opens up a little bit more, that it's going to be literally divorce crazemo? Or is it already divorce crazemo?
I think that depends on the economy. When they were talking about that V-shaped recovery, where it's a quick, steep recovery, the idea behind that was that there wasn't structural damage to the economy, that it was just a pandemic external factor, and that the fundamentals were good. The problem is this is dragging on so long that the concern is the fundamentals are now in rough shape, and there's going to be some permanent damage, and therefore instead of a V, it's going to be a U, or even a U with a slower curve up. And so that's a roundabout way of saying it depends on the economy. Because if the economy is bad, if we wind up in a depression or an extended recession, people will stay together even though they're unhappy, and they'll do it out of necessity because it's expensive to start two households. Sure. Now, granted, some people will, there's that X factor of people being forced together in this quarantine situation, and maybe they won't stick it out, but history tells us that in periods of slow economic times and recessions, divorce rate generally goes down. On the other hand, if the economy picks up steam, you will see a deferred demand for divorce, and you will also see probably an increase because of people having an increased conflict and not having their own personal space.
Okay. Yeah, no, that completely makes sense to me. I just didn't know if you were already saying, because I know you guys have been, doing almost like telelaw. We have telemedicine. Now we have telelaw, I guess, or, tele-attorney, or you can,
they have telephonic hearings and video hearings, in the courts even right now.
That's crazy.
The courts are almost the slowest to adapt anything.
Right. I just didn't know if you were seeing, because I know you do keep your thumb on, kind of what would be considering the trend in what's happening right now, and you'd be like, oh, man, Kramer Law, a lot of divorce. We are getting hammered with divorces, but I didn't know if it's too soon to even make that call, or if that's... Yeah,
Steve.
It's too soon. I think people are pent up and they're locked down, and they're not taking action right now for the most part.
That makes sense.
Steve, here's something I haven't heard anybody talk about, or at least it hasn't been prevalent in the news. What are they doing about juries and court cases and stuff? They've had to suspend those. But so that's got to
juries in. I just read the administrative order yesterday or Monday that came down from the Supreme Court, but they suspended jury trials, I think, until in July.
So that's got to cause an insane amount of like a backup in the system, right? Like you stop doing trials for a couple months and then you start them back up, and there's going to be a backlog of thousands of them, right?
You would imagine.
That's true, but remember, court cases overall have slowed down. People are not filing lawsuits as quickly, so the volume isn't there. And also, when you talk about jury trials, a lot of times what that relates to is arrests, and arrests are down. So like in a county like Seminole County, for instance, I think the stat was normally 40 or 50 arrests a day. The last time I looked into it, they dropped down to 4 or 5 arrests in a day. So, a more than 90% drop.
Huh. So basically, since everything's shut down, all like crime is shut down, and like cases have shut down. So basically, you're not going to have the same amount of backlog you would normally if everything was continuing.
That makes sense to me.
They'll start it back up. Do you think this will change the system in any way, where they'll start enacting some sort of virtual? I had this thought.
They did a study, and in the most recent order from the Supreme Court in Florida, they identified different areas where technology could be utilized to handle those issues. So like alternative dispute resolution, various types of like juvenile delinquency hearings, lots of different types of hearings. And, frankly, that could be advantageous for people in the future, because it is inconvenient to have to go to court if your kid gets in trouble, for instance. They loitering, or they get arrested for something, they do graffiti or egg somebody's house and they wind up getting arrested. It's costly for parents to go to court for 3 hours or 4 hours to wait for their child's hearing, and there's a cost to that, a financial cost.
Sure.
So you think they'll ever do like a virtual jury where people can literally just be sequestered at their own house and do like...
Oh, I'd love that.
I think it's unlikely. The jury system isn't conducive to that. There's too many variables. But listen, if it depends on the dynamics of what happens here. I mean, at a certain point, they might start looking at the feasibility of something like that. I think this is something that is going to change everything, right? I mean, I've read a few articles on this recently. After people don't realize, they say get back to normal. After, think about September 11th, and after 9/11. Things never went back to the way they were. Things were different. We were an anti-terror state and a surveillance state from that point forward, and we gave up and traded certain liberties, and put security measures in place. I mean, the way you have to show ID at the airport, security stops in various places, metal detectors, X-ray machines, showing ID to walk into a big building. All kinds of measures that weren't there before are part of the normal day-to-day life, and the same thing is going to happen here. It's just what is going to be the new normal, and that's going to translate into various types of businesses and law.
I thought about that too. Like throughout history, like these gigantic events have happened and accelerated change. I've mentioned, I think the last time, like World War II, basically all the men went to go fight for war, like the war,
and
then
it's like earthquake or flooding changes the shape, the geographic shape of a country. It's no different.
That's right. I mean, World War I, you lost an entire more death and more people actually in the military serving. You had an entire generation of men in France, for instance, just wiped out. And the consequences of that. I mean, every one of these wars or plagues historically has those after effects. I mean, the French Revolution, that's when the modern era starts. I mean, you look at any of these different plagues or seismic events. I mean, after the Spanish flu, I mean, it's not a strange coincidence or a leap of intellectual faith to look at the Roaring '20s and flappers and speakeasies in the United States, or the rise of fascism in Europe and economic despair. After the World War I and that plague.
And I was talking about like the women going to work, like all the men went to go fight for war, and then women started doing jobs that stereotypically at that time women didn't do, and then when the men came back, the world had changed. The society was like, oh, women can do all these jobs, and then
especially
it just established
when you add in the number one liberator, birth control.
Right.
And then so this has made me think, I wonder if this is going to be the shift towards more of a virtual world.
I should say liberate.
And like 2020 will be looked back upon in history as this was the shift where everybody kind of went more virtual. Like this was the catalyst to the death of malls and the way people changed their shop. Like even though Amazon and virtual shopping and shopping online was already a thing, like this has made everybody.
Grocery stores were never though. I mean, grocery stores, that's going to be a big change, right? I mean, nobody bought their groceries online before. Now, I don't know the polling on it, but a lot of people buy their groceries online and through delivery.
Yeah. And now people will go back and there will be stores and obviously retail stores. Like, I'm not saying this will be the end of everything. I'm just saying, like, the stores that were barely holding on, the malls that were barely holding on, I think this will change. This will change movie theaters. I don't think movie theaters will be as popular in the future. I think the distribution change of entertainment and movies will be changed. I mean, Universal and the theater chains have already been getting in fights about how so this.
Well, part of it depends on how long this lasts too. If this resolves, by the fall or by 2021 January, then that's a completely different effect on the world than if this drags on for a few years.
Yeah, but I'm saying
it's also weird from a, if you like aesthetics or branding, and this is just an aside, I'll let you continue, but I'm just saying, it is very odd to me as a creative, and I hate using that term, so I'm going to only use it once today.
Yeah.
But 2020, just the fact that it happened on a year that's so... You know what I mean? Like, the parallel between, it is. It's almost like 2020. See clearly. It's the way your vision is. It's almost too perfect, right? To me, it's just too perfect to say, like, oh, now we see things clearly, or this is a definitive shift, cultural shift in our world. It's 2020. It's just too convenient. It seems very, very movie-like. It doesn't seem real. It seems...
it is surreal. I mean, it's strange. And it's one of those changes. I mean, World War I ended the 19th century for all intents and purposes. 9/11 ended the 90s. I mean, it was weird. I was watching Zoolander. They had like a Ben Stiller-a-thon or whatever yesterday.
I love that movie.
And Zoolander was on. And what was weird is it felt so 90s. I mean, so 90s. And you could almost pinpoint it as it's pre 9/11 or at least filmed before that.
Yeah, the difference is that you see culturally that had long spans of time where things stayed exactly the same. We've talked about this even before in a Gentleman's Guide with technology, where it's like, oh, there's only so much you can do with this iPhone. It's just going to get incrementally better.
Yeah.
But most of the thing stays exactly the same. What we're dealing with now is, social media, distancing, using FaceTime, using Zoom, using Skype was all incrementally needed. It wasn't a necessity.
Right? You have those incremental improvements in the span of history, and then you have those giant leaps.
And this is a leap.
For all of the evil and bad that World War I wrought and the death that it brought, it did do marvels for the advances of medicine. I mean, I think that it changed the way penicillin was used in antibiotics. There were just spectacular advances in medicine from that, despite the horrible consequences that happened after that, including World War II. But,
But then there's weird things that happened, like going back to 9/11 and the way we travel and the way security was ramped up.
Yeah.
I think
I don't remember what it was like before.
Well, before you could bring knives on.
No, for me. But think about how weird I am. I don't remember what flying was like before 9/11 because my fear kept me out of airports for the most part.
Yeah.
So flying the way it is now, I'm just like a kid that grew up with the internet, and it's, oh no, what do you mean you remember what it was like without the internet? To me, taking your shoes off, walking through the metal detector, taking the belt off, that whole thing is as normal as any other flight 35 years ago. Exactly the same.
And showing your ID. Because, you didn't necessarily have to show ID in the past.
Right.
That was in Fletch. The guy hires Fletch to kill him, and he's going to leave him a ticket at the airport in in that guy's name, not Fletch's name.
Right. Yeah. You could just buy a ticket for somebody and just like, here you go, bye.
Yeah. Here, Daniel, take my ticket. It says Steve Kramer. You'll be fine with it.
Yeah. Just tell them. Just, you'll be all right.
But we
got a seat.
We also do things as a society that sometimes are a waste or based on fear. For instance, like I may be completely wrong with this, but like remember the shoe bomber, like one failed attempt.
Richard Reed.
Yeah, of the guy, the terrorist that tried to blow his shoes up and in a plane, and the entire nation has to take their shoes off now. I don't believe one shoe bomb was ever found after that, and the millions upon millions of shoes taken off. Like, we do something based on some small statistical likelihood because this happened, and we go like, oh my God, this guy had an explosive in his shoe.
Although I do think they had like intelligence on it. It wasn't just that one guy. They had intelligence that it was in the works. And the argument could be kind of like that, if you did it right, it seems like an overreaction is, well, we pooed on that party.
Yeah. You're right.
You're right.
But we react to things and then we change the way we do things based on one person of millions of things.
We're also the type of organisms where not doing anything is not an option.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we need to do something because there's a level of almost acceptance and closure that we get for acting. So we have to do something, right?
Yeah, no matter what. People bought up toilet paper and groceries it's the one area they could exert control in dealing with total chaos.
Yeah, when I used to always see, you could always tell when. And not everybody's wired this way, but you always tell we always have that certain friend that will over control the things in his life that are in his control because there's something else bothering him that's completely out of control. You see it a lot with marriages. My marriage is completely out of control. Yeah. So I'm going to go to work and I'm going to over control all of my employees because it's bothering me so bad and I have no other way. I have no other recourse.
Yeah.
And kids do that. That's why that's why so many kids are picky eaters or parents have difficulty at the dinner table is eating is one of the few instances where children can exert control.
Yeah, because they it's hard to stuff the broccoli down their throat like a dog and hold their nose.
I want to.
Yeah.
So I wish I had a couple of those chopping swords.
Anyway, Steve, what are some...
Is it chopping time now? Did you find the dog or bird we're chopping?
Law-wise, besides from, like, divorce, have you seen any uptick in anything else that...
I'm predicting an uptick in foreclosures and bankruptcy.
Oh, really?
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
I was ahead of the curve in the last foreclosure crisis. That's why we were one of the biggest firms in the state that was doing it. And you can feel that we're getting calls on it already. And if things, I don't think there's going to be a foreclosure crisis in the next 6 months because there's a lot of forbearance and with Fannie Mae and federally subsidized loans, VA loans, there's forbearance in place. But what happens at the end of that 6 months is the unknown, and there's a good chance that you're going to see a spike in foreclosures, unfortunately.
Well, I read an article that my wife sent me the other day about how home values actually rising.
I saw that.
Now, because there will be foreclosures, but that's based on people not being able, being laid off their jobs and not being able to pay, not necessarily like a devaluing of house values like there was in the mortgage crisis back in 2010, where
the issue is that could be temporary. It could be a temporary spike in housing prices because less people right now are putting their homes in the market because right now people don't want strangers in their homes and they don't want to move right now. But the bigger issue isn't today. The bigger issue is the long-term prospects. And if we have 40 million people unemployed, 6 months or a year from now, and people living off of unemployment that's significantly less than they earn to maintain their household, you're going to see you could see deflation where prices drop generally in the market, and that could also impact real estate prices. And two, you could see an increase in defaults, which would later on spike the inventory on the market and lead to the vicious cycle where you get that foreclosure spiral where people are defaulting because they can't pay, but 2, people are defaulting because they're upside down and they want out. It's kind of a spiral when it happens.
What about this theory? I've heard that there's going to be a mass exodus of people in giant cities, and them.
Yeah, I read that yesterday.
And them wanting to go live
a little more rural
in a suburb or in places like just getting out of big cities because there's such a dense population. Obviously, the cities have been affected.
They don't want to deal with this again, is the idea, right?
Yeah, way more than let's say even here in Florida, like you live in a regular suburban place in Florida. We're all pretty spread apart. We're not seeing the mass infection rate as the big cities have been hit the hardest, and people not wanting to go through that again and leaving to live a more suburban lifestyle in maybe a state that's not as densely populated.
Or that was already happening because of the recent tax law. With the way the tax law changed, they eliminated the part of the opportunity to deduct state taxes, state income taxes. So in high state taxes, like in New York or California or in the Northeast generally, there was already an exodus starting because of the additional cost of tax burden. So that was already happening. This is just going to accelerate that. So yeah, you could be right. There could be maybe a situation where there's drops in values, but there could be areas of the country that do better than others. Like Florida might fare better because a lot of people in the Northeast want to come to Florida. It's romanticized. It's good weather. I mean, there's a lot of, and they have maybe family that's already moved down here or experience, or it's urbanized enough that it's in good middle ground.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. We can be outdoors all year long, and then in big cities, especially where New York City, Boston, Chicago, where it's real cold.
Certainly Chicago would not be fun to be outside.
No.
Well, in the winters,
cold.
You have to be indoors, and in a big city, you're going to be indoors around a bunch of people if you're going to try to do anything, maybe.
And it is beautiful right now, by the way. I mean, like 8 months of the year, maybe even more, are amazing in Florida.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, really, the year. I mean, even in our winters, and I use that as quotes.
I was thinking summer was the bad month, like August. August, September.
Yeah. But you still can.
I enjoy that.
You can be outside and it's hot as hell, but it's not. It's not like winter in a city. Like you're not going to be outside in a snowstorm. It's just too damn cold, like literally life-threatening cold.
Yeah.
And in dead heat of August. I mean, if you're in the shade, it's hot, but take your shirt off. You're fine. You know what I'm saying?
Like, all right.
You're not like you're burning alive.
You're in good shape.
Yeah, there's very little you can do. Like that's why I always
argue. Fat, skinny, you can take your shirt off.
I always argue with people because they're always like, "Oh, I'd rather be cold," and I'm like, "Nah, dog, you don't get it." Like if it's hot, I just call you up. I'm like, "Hey, I want to jump in your pool," or I just go over to my pool and jump in the community pool. Yeah. It'll eventually open up. Are you
guys spending a lot of time outside? Because I've been outside like nonstop. I do my work outside. In fact, even my toes are tan. I mean, I've never been so tan in my life.
Tan toes.
Maybe.
I think...
I'm outside a lot.
Yeah, especially here. Everybody just goes outside,
like some of the most fun I have is even just riding my scooter around, just kind of looking at stuff and just putting around very slow back streets in the sun.
Yeah. I mean, it's
very simple.
I took my boat out last Sunday to go. I put in a marina over there by New Smyrna. I basically, I looked at the next 6 months and I was like, well, if I want to use my boat, the ramps are, it's Memorial Day every weekend because everybody's got the same idea.
I'll try and find the article. They're thinking about policing it in a way where it's like you get there and then we're like, it's almost like a queue. No more every man for himself. Oh, because they're having too many. They're having too many issues, and they're having too many knuckleheads get out there and start yelling at each other in certain fights.
Oh yeah.
So they're going to start making it like you show up, you get a ticket, you get in queue, you put your boat in, you enjoy the day. They might shut it. I mean, everybody should be
like
cool.
Every public lake.
This is why everybody should keep their temper checked and be cool. Because when you act stupid, Even if you're just yelling and screaming, you're going to ruin it, and then they're going to come and they're going to put the police out there and lock it down.
Well, that's what I saw, like, even a month ago when I took my boat out. It was like, I've never seen this many people. Like, it was like a holiday weekend, and I was like, this is going to be like this all time. So I found a marina, like a dry dock, that I'll put it in, so I don't have to fight the ramps.
Well, that way you got an hour window to get there, get your kids on the boat, head out, and you don't have to worry about getting in some sort
How often have you gone out?
Stupid altercation.
Well, last Sunday was the first time I put the boat at the marina, and the marina is limited too because of the virus. They got virus
Steven,
rules.
In perfect van fashion, he bought his dream boat, and then the world shut down.
Yeah,
I know. That's horrible timing. Although maybe it's good timing because you can get away.
Well,
true.
What I was going to say is we just went out to Disappearing Island for an hour or so before I took it back to the marina, and it is packed like it's Memorial Day. Like the entire, I'm not packed in a people are together, but
like the beaches when they open them up. I mean, just people are desperate to move around.
Yeah, I mean it's safe. Everybody's in their own area, away from each other. I'm just saying, boat wise, there's a ridiculous amount of boats out, and because of, like you said, everybody just like nothing else to do, so everybody just takes their boat out. Yeah. Everybody goes outside or whatever.
I've been doing home improvement still. That's what I was doing last time we had the show a month ago, and that's what I'm doing now. Home improvement. Yeah, you were doing that too, right?
Yeah.
How much have you been? What have you been? Give me a rundown, because I've been working on some stuff. I'm either here working on something at the studio, or I'm at the house working on something, and it's been a lot of weird door fixes, pantry doors, dumb stuff.
I pressure washed everything. My deck has a railing all around it, so there's a lot of rails. So I pressure washed that, and I've sanded and painted that.
Nice.
And then what else? I've recaulked a bunch of spots in my house.
Nice.
I redid like my deck chairs outside. They're like metal, and they'd kind of gotten a little rusted. How
big's your caulk?
Pardon?
How big's your caulk?
I've got a lot of space in my house, so there's
is it a pliable caulk, or is soft caulk, or do you use a more rigid caulk?
How big's your deck?
Some of it is like gray colored to match the grout. I've got the silicone kind.
What's bigger, your caulk or your deck? Have you ever put your caulk on your deck? Touch them. You touch the caulk to the.
Too easy.
Yeah, you touch the caulk to the deck.
Have you ridden your jet skis yet?
Yes, we want to buy them.
I knew you were going to go there.
We want to buy them.
I got to get them serviced and back in shape. I was in the process of getting my dock ready and doing all that, and then this damn thing hit.
You use non-ethanol gas, right? If you use ethanol gas, the carbs are going to be ruined. Yeah. They're dead 2 months in. You got to put non-ethanol. Go to Wawa. You know that, right, Steve?
I do. Okay. I do know that. But even I did non-ethanol gas in my generator, and I ran it dry, and it's still clogged up in the carburetor. I soaked it. I did everything. We took that thing apart, and still it clogged up.
Yeah, sometimes.
That's running it dry. That's with stabilizer, and just, if you don't run something for long enough, the carburetors don't like that.
No, I looked at my 1959 Vespa the other day because I'm cleaning the garage.
Yeah.
Oh, buddy.
Yeah.
I looked out in the tank. It was like grape jelly in there. I'm like, all right.
Just sell it. Yeah. There's nothing.
I am going to clean it out.
Right? I mean, you just got to take the carburetor out and do a little cleaning. Right?
I'll clean it, but what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to put it in a position where I can store it a little bit better. Because after the move, I mean, it's so unreliable. And it's not fun to wrench on because it's all metric and Italian and weird.
Yeah. But that's such a beautiful scooter.
Oh, it's fun. I mean, I'll get it running someday or give it to Maisie.
I've been on the hunt for vintage watches. All the watchmen will be happy about that.
Now, how is the market? Are you seeing people that maybe are, maybe they don't have their job anymore, or hurting really, really bad, or maybe they can't work, or maybe they've been furloughed, that are dishing off some more pricey watches? Is this a good market?
That's not why. I hope that's not why. But I think I'm hoping that there was an article about watch dealers, beginning of March, the meme is they got, both thumbs up, smiling big, and the end of March, they're crying. And I think that industry is hurting right now, for sure. Because it's just, it was on fire. I mean, it was on fire, and it's a luxury good especially for high-end watches. Nobody's buying luxury goods, right? No, nobody is. But the stuff I'm looking at is like cheap vintage watches that nobody pays attention to. The stuff that like our buddies in the Watchman group are into also.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff.
I like the really rare stuff that they have. I've gone back to doing a watch hobby that I did years and years ago.
What's that?
There's a certain series of really nice Japanese crazy watches, and what I mean by that is they're very cartoony, anime styled. They're like not for kids, but they're eccentric. They're weird. So, like in order to tell time, it might be like 3 amber lights, and that's it on the watch. Or maybe it doesn't go clockwise; it goes backwards. Or maybe it's a weird sundial to tell time.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
you should post some of those in the subgroup for the BDM Watchmen.
Yeah, and there's a specific website that's been around at least 15 years that I've shopped from, and I've bought, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 watches from it. And I'm not talking break the bank. I'm talking like watches that cost like maybe between $80 and at the very most like maybe $200, right?
Yeah, they're like fun watches.
But they're Citizen brand, and Citizen, a lot of people don't know this, but Citizen makes a lot of like really crazy, awesomely kooky watches for the Asian market that we don't get. And they're a lot more fun. You think of Citizen here.
Well, the Asian market I think the Chinese market is the biggest market for Rolex. I mean,
yeah. But these are weirdo watches, and for whatever reason, I don't know why they won't branch out to America for these, because I think they, with kids that like hip hop, with kids that they like maybe more the fun throwback 90s and early 2000s style, they'd be perfect. But, I'm not.
What's been interesting to see is that website that we both like, Uncrate.
Oh, I love Uncrate.
Even what they post on there has changed.
Yeah,
Have you noticed it?
Yeah. Yeah,
it's a lot more practical, useful items. Let's say. I mean, there's real estate and some frivolous stuff, but there's more useful things.
Yeah, you probably noticed, like I did, that the Frank Lloyd Wright, the jet planes, the yachts that are it's just like a concept yacht. All of those are gone. Like they don't put those crazy. Here's a $8 million concept yacht.
There may be a little bit of class tension that develops with unemployment spiking. The reality is everybody but the super rich are going to be hit if our economy hurts, and I've always been kind of curious why there isn't more backlash to like the tech billionaires and it's been developing, and you may see a little more of that class tension and maybe a little more reticence to post.
There's an article. I think is it Newsweek that just put an article out either yesterday. I have it flagged to read it, but it's called "Rich COVID, Poor COVID," and they kind of go through.
Well, and then is it rich and poor? Or is it super rich and everybody else? Because the super rich, they're on their own islands. They got their own stuff. They got their own compounds locked away. They have their health, quarantined with them. Some of them fled to New Zealand and far off places.
Yeah.
That's a whole different level.
No, it seems like the tone of this article, and I haven't read it yet, but it seems like the tone of the article is more about less about like the initial or group divide, and more about like the treatment of the super rich to the people that they brought along to work for them during quarantine. So it's almost like they're super rich and they're abusing us, their workers, during this time because they can, and we're sort of desperate. That's the vibe I got from it, but I haven't been able to.
I've read a few of the articles like that. I mean, there's definitely a divide there. I mean, if you can buy your own island, you're in a lot better shape than everybody else. It's kind of interesting because, I've talked to my brother. My brother's in Gainesville, and, he lives with a bunch of, he's younger than me, and he lives with a bunch of students that are either, kind of mid-20s or whatever. And in Gainesville, what he was telling me is there's all these people, if you guys didn't live there, you wouldn't know, but there's a lot of menial work there that does not pay well. There's just an oversupply of qualified, competent people and an undersupply of jobs. And what it means is there's a lot of crap jobs there that just don't pay well in Gainesville. And what he was saying with the unemployment the way it is, that there's people that have never made this much money in their life that are doubling their income or, making $10,000 a year more because of unemployment.
Right.
So they've never had this much money in Gainesville ever. And what'll be interesting is to see. Not interesting. I mean, kind of sad in a way, but how this all shakes out, because effectively the unemployment is a $15 an hour minimum wage right now, because it's at the very minimum $600 a week for anybody getting it.
Right.
And so it'll be interesting to see, because there are going to be people that weren't making that are going to get effectively a raise, and it's created some weird incentive structures for people going back to work, by the way. And then there's going to be the super rich that are going to be survive through this, like Bezos has gained billions in value because of Amazon's increasing role and stock value. And then there's going to be middle class people that maybe made $60,000 a year that are now making 30, or made 50 and now making 30, or made 100 and making 30 now, unemployed. And it'll just be, I don't know how that's going to work out, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
I feel you.
I wonder what we're going to see. So we within 2008, 2010, we all, and everybody listening to this, went through the housing crisis and the last recession we went through, which directly affected all the housing and the mortgage crisis first. Obviously, that's what caused it, and home values obviously cut in half, and everybody all of a sudden was faced with living in a house that was worth half of what they thought it was, and everybody foreclosed and all that. And then the wave of that affected subsequent industry, and everything went down. So I like looking at this, and
into the strongest economy we've ever had in mid-February.
Yeah, no, and then obviously it bounced back, and then this happens, and then you see the direct effect with bars and restaurants, and
this is a lot of middle class jobs, by the way.
Entertainment.
I mean, a lot of those professional career wait jobs and bartending jobs are good paying quality jobs. Those people maybe may make between $40,000 to $100,000 a year, for professional chefs and waiters, etc. But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I'm just wondering what the wave will start affecting, we're already seeing the, instantly a crushing effect on bars, restaurants.
Hospitality was just
hospitality.
And the hospital. Owners too. I mean, those are small business owners that, and give a lot of people good jobs. And, those aren't, a lot of those people that aren't super rich people, they do well, but, it's all relative. I mean, doing well is truly relative. What's weird is I was reading about the detachment between the stock market and the economy right now. The stock market is still, doing pretty well, despite the fundamentals of the economy being so weak. So that's intriguing too. Again, investor class, very wealthy class doing okay in that scenario. And,
right.
Many other people, including middle and upper middle and, everything in between, not doing as well.
Yeah, because if Steve, and you are, smarter than I am when it comes to the economy and looking at all this and the stock market and everything. So essentially, what's interesting to me is everything stopped. The whole nation stopped because we're like, we got to stop right now to stop the spread of this. Everybody knows. So with that, though, all the money that everybody had is still it's just frozen, basically. Everybody's hold on. So it's not really gone anywhere per se, but it's just that everybody stopped giving it to each other, and slowly that will come back, but some industries won't, based on the current environment and the culture and how this changes the culture of the way things are done and all that. But you're right, as far as the people, the rich, and
I'm not an expert on this stuff. I'm a casual observer and try to be informed. So I don't want to claim and stake some expert claim, because I'm sure we have listeners that study this for a living and that maybe are economists or whatever.
Sure.
But here's what I do know is, what I believe I know is that when you talk about money seizing up, there's different types of money. There's that retail money out there. There's that money that is on Main Street that average people have. And then there's that institutional wholesale money that moves between banks and major corporations. And those are kind of different worlds. But, what you saw, and the reason the stock market recovered from everything I've read is, the Federal Reserve and the government injecting this massive amount of cash and liquidity into the markets. And effectively, the Fed propping up companies and putting loans out there to keep companies' balance sheets open and to keep money moving on those institutional markets between lenders and banks and corporations and for corporate bonds. Because, if those companies go down, of course, the workers go down with them is the logic.
Right.
And then, of course, a massive injection to, the common people and workers, too, through the spiked unemployment benefits, through the stimulus payments. And what that looks like is an effort to prevent what you're talking about. Because when money stops moving, when it seizes up, prices drop. And when prices drop, you have this thing called deflation. And when you have deflation, that's the only thing worse than inflation. That's common when you have a depression effect. An economic depression is when you have deflation. Prices drop because people stop buying things. So I think the idea was inject a ton of cash, keep things moving, and the stock market liked it. And again, people that are making less than the $600 a week plus that is coming out from unemployment are doing okay right now, as long as they're able to get their benefits. It's what is undetermined is what happens to the long-term prospects, business owners that weren't able to get that PPP program, and and then people that had jobs making more than what's provided by unemployment that are now on unemployment. What happens in that scenario? And that's a question mark.
Yeah, huge question.
I'm not into conspiracy theories, but I read some meme or some conspiracy theory meme.
Yeah, great setup.
But we could talking about how this could be the catalyst to push us more towards a virtual world. That push.
But every movie where there's a virtual world is real sad and dark.
Well, I saw some meme and there's like, what if. This stupid meme, but what if the coronavirus was started by, the internet, similar to Terminator 2, Skynet.
So self-aware computers in Asia created a virus to spread over the world to push us inside so we're more dependent upon them?
Yes, and this is this is kind of like Skynet going online, or what is it, or becoming self-aware.
Yeah, Skynet.
And
then they scan Shaquille O'Neal's eyeball and he makes a basket.
I mean, the best way to push all of humanity more towards or more reliant on the internet and computers and a virtual world is making everybody stay away from each other and become more virtual, which this has done. Now, like I said, it seems likely to me at least that once there's a vaccine and things, we'll get back to normal. But a lot of people will continue to do some of these habits they've learned from this, which is shop online, virtual shopping, communicate virtually.
I agree with that.
Some people have
the problem with the conspiracy theories, or whether it's developed in a lab or natural,
that's stupid.
It's out there now. The milk is spilt.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not saying that anybody created this. I'm not saying any of this. I'm saying it's interesting.
It is, yeah.
The theory behind this is the catalyst to push us more towards a virtual world, which people will adopt, and it will accelerate where we were inevitably heading anyway.
Oh, I think it will.
Like if you look at a Wall-E, and you're big fat just on chairs.
That's a dark world.
Living on a TV and not talking to one another.
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
And I've never seen Wall-E, but I know I had to Google what you're talking about to reference it.
How have you not seen Wall-E, Daniel?
It's not something I'm proud of, Steve, but I'm going to try I would imagine it's on Disney Plus, right?
Yeah.
You're a Pixar fan, aren't you?
Oh, big time. It just fell through the cracks, but would Maisie like
it? On the list.
Yeah, it's very calm. I usually put it so my sons would fall asleep for years, because it's
definitely slower than a lot of the other Pixar movies, right?
Yeah. It's very calm. There's not much dialogue. It's a very relaxed.
All right.
Speaking of conspiracy theories, and I don't know if this fits, but have you read about the theory that all the Pixar movies are related in the same world, the same reality? They're all tethered together, different time frames.
No.
That's a pretty cool one. And if you look at The Incredibles, you can actually date it. It's like mid-century.
So
they showed date on one of the newspapers.
Oh, really? So it's more... Okay, all right.
So it's kind of like a Star Wars theory where it's all in the same realm.
Yes.
And
there's references between the movies to each other. Like the car that's in Cars, I think is in Incredibles, actually.
What, like Hudson? Like what the...
I forget which one it is.
The older one. What's his name? Paul Newman's character.
Yes, I think so.
Hudson... Turnpike or something. They all have dumb car names. Yeah.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, but I'm like, okay, I could totally see that. Oh, you guys are giving me too much homework for the next time we meet.
Well, the first thing is you should watch WALL-E. It's not my favorite one of those movies, but it's still, you gotta knock them all off.
Is it Hudson Hornet?
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm looking it up right now. I'm going to tell you in a moment.
I've only seen the first car movie, the first Cars.
Oh. Really? You haven't seen all the Pixars?
No.
The shark that's in Incredibles that Bob is drawing looks like the shark, like Bruce from Finding Nemo.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And the Rock'em Sock'em is in Toy Story 2 from The Incredibles.
Correct. Now that I know. Okay.
Yeah, and
interesting.
They do little nods to
but I don't want nods. I want them all interconnected because I think that would be really cool and way better than
is the same one that's from Cars.
And way better than the Marvel universe. Sorry, nerds, but it's just way better characters.
So
Pixar.
Yeah.
Back to
they get me in the feels.
Living in like virtual reality, Steve. You think this will be the catalyst to move future generations to a place where everybody's kind of living a virtual? I mean,
I wonder. Or do you see like when there's a cure or a vaccine, or the waves work itself out, or whatever happens when this is over with? Do you see people come together? Do you see like the Roaring '20s, like you saw in America, where people are partying, and you see an increased closeness as almost a reaction to it? That's the other possibility, right?
Well, and because there's that aspect as well. More people have been outside. More people have started exercising outside and things like that. So there's. I
like to stand on the Orlando mayor's steps with my AR. That's what I do. That's what I like doing. I like doing that, just draped in tactical gear that I'll never use. That's what I like doing.
How about this? I bought a bird feeder. That's something I've never done before.
Oh, so you can lure them in for chopping. That's called a trap, Steve.
Chopcom.
Actually, I brought one. I wanted the squirrels are a real problem. I always wanted fruit trees. Every time I've done a garden or fruit trees, the squirrels get it all. Never get any of the fruit.
Yeah.
And so I was looking for a bird feeder that the squirrels couldn't get to, and I found the perfect bird feeder. And not only can the squirrels not get to it, but they are deterred in a funny way.
Wait, does it wing them off in a circle?
Yes.
I love those.
Oh,
Steven, my father-in-law has one of those.
Amazing.
One of the best purchases you'll ever make. It doesn't hurt.
So excited.
It doesn't hurt the squirrel, but man, it'll wing them. And Jim, Jim, Andrew's dad. I think he souped his up because man, when it would wing the squirrel, it would wing them like I want to say like further than a super soaker into the woods. It was amazing.
I've seen that on America's Funniest Home Videos.
Well, he's got the electric. He's got the one that's battery powered, I bet. I got the one that's not battery powered, so it doesn't quite throw him quite as far. But the videos for that are amazing, and they convinced me to buy it, even though it's an expensive-ass bird feeder.
Oh, no, but you'll love it because it'll work. And I think yours is a little bit better because I think his, again, requires maintenance, and you got to put more batteries in it and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
Set it up and be done.
But those things are great, man, and they work really, really well.
Steve, because we're getting close to the end of the show,
we're going to go around the room and we're going to say one nice thing about each other.
I was thinking more along the lines of, will you get one of your swords and at least chop some fruit from your fridge, chop something.
Yeah, chop a sausage.
And scream Chopcom just to end the show. The Twitch.
Wait, what was it? It was one bird for life.
Chopcom.
Chopcom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you scream that out and chop something live on the show? I know all the Twitch chat room.
My marketing is a little more demure than that. So
okay, yeah, that's the smart answer, Steve. Finally, you didn't fall into one of Tom's traps.
Yes, I know. They'll love it.
Now, what I'm perfectly okay with is if you independently want to make one of these videos. I know you've got some flea market katana laying around.
I don't.
I think you should do one and post it.
I'll chop anything.
Do you have a blade that you can spare? We'll send our resident chopper, Remy, to your house. He's fully masked and safe. He won't breach the door. You can leave it outside. He'll come and get it, and then we'll do one bird for life chop com.
Hold on. You telling me, Tom, you don't have any flea market katanas?
I don't.
I know he looks like a flea market katana guy.
I know. I don't have one.
You realize
sword.
that was a diss on your house.
In the office. I have them all over the place.
He's dissing your house.
Yeah.
Well, he's dissing your house.
Well, is he? Because I don't have them, and Steve just said I have them all over the place. So,
well, you have a theory that that in the middle of the night a katana was equal to a gun for defense. And then I saw an article where some medical student chopped the dude in half with his katana that broke into his house.
He chopped him in half.
My God.
Literally.
No, it'll go into your flank, but you're in a clean chop.
I mean, you're going to die, but I mean,
maybe even not.
No, it was like on a biased angle. It wasn't down the middle. It was like on a biased angle. It was messed up.
I always wanted to do that move where you have a sword that's strong enough to go upcut and then slice them from the groin to the neck.
I don't even think
that's dark.
If you because you,
I think if I swung as hard as I could at your neck, I think I could chop your head off.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, my head. But
easy.
But a samurai sword, it doesn't have the dent. It's in the weight. Like you need a executioner's axe to chop someone real clean. You know?
Do you have an executioner's axe, Steve?
It's too light. The sword's too light.
No, I do have a Best Made Company axe though.
Ooh, Best Made's that's good quality.
Yeah, that was it was I think our steel anniversary or something, iron, whatever it was.
Those are great.
And that was the gift that I got. It was a good gift.
That's actually handy for when this thing gets completely out of control. That Best Made axe.
Steve, let me just see one sword and just I take it out the sheath.
Right.
And
here we
wave
go.
it out.
Here we go. Oh, you really got him. You got him, Steven. I told you to not do this. You fell into his trap again. What have I told you?
And then
hold on, we're in my bathroom now.
I will hope your wife's in the background and taking a shower or something. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that.
You got it. Oh, it's in the bathroom sword.
Wow. Whoa.
What is that? Which one is that?
Hey, Juan, are we allowed to show swords on Twitch?
Yeah. Swords are good.
I think swords are fine.
It's a Yokishashi.
Oh, okay, that is beautiful. That's a real sword. That's not flea market.
No, that's not. That's a real sword.
That's legit, dude.
Yeah, that's a good sword.
Chop some shampoo. Chop something.
Chop that Marilyn Monroe painting. Chop her pearl necklace off.
Yeah. There's something. Chop some soap.
Chop a soap.
Chop a towel.
Chop a shampoo bottle.
I'm not chopping anything.
Chop your shirt off, and then I'll get horny. Come on, chop your shirt off.
There's you gotta chop something.
Yeah, come on, chop a cantaloupe.
We got chopping blue balls here.
That's a great record.
Oh, chop that.
Chop that record.
Not chopping that.
Who is that? Martin Luther King? Chop that. Chop it all. Oh, Duke Ellington. I love Duke Ellington.
Chop the Duke.
That's a great record. I've been listening to a lot of jazz.
Take a poop on the ground and chop your own poop.
Chop something. Please.
Chop the... Okay. Take the handle off the sword. Use the sword to chop the sword handle. Or
Have you seen that? Did you ever see that episode of The Human Giant?
Chop.
Did you ever watch that show?
Chop.
The guy chops off his own junk to be an internet sensation.
Stephen Kramer. Chop.
The chat room loves it. They want you to chop. They're screaming chop.
Chop.
They won't be satisfied until you chop something.
Wait, I saw turquoise. Oh, do you have pants on? You don't have pants on.
I do have pants on. I have shorts on.
Chop your bottom.
I thought about going pantsless, just so you know, but...
what kind of shorts? Big and one?
Oh my God, he's got long dicky shorts and he's got slides on. Like he's going to Big Lots to get a big jug of cheese poops.
I'm tan now.
You're dressed like any guy who's a ringer in a pickup game. You know, you got long and ones, big long sock slides. And you know he's just sitting there and he's like, "What up, young blood?" And you're like, "That guy can't ball, but he can fucking ball." And then he rings you into getting on the court, and then he comes out there, he puts his blunt down or his joint, and he's dunk master on you. Doesn't matter that he has a beer belly now. Still got it.
Can you throw something up in the air and chop it in half?
Ooh, chop your lights down, but turn the power off first.
All right, Steve.
Well, we love you, dude. We missed you. That was fun. Hey, honestly, next time we meet, we should probably. I'll try and find my old sword. I have an old machete or something. We should probably chop something
by next month. The first
that'll be the teaser for the next show.
We'll chop something. The first Wednesday of June, you could probably come in here, right? Well, if you can, bring all your swords, and we're gonna chop everything, and then we're gonna chop.
Let's chop this whole studio part.
I want to chop.
I don't want to do this
all
anymore.
Butler's toys, and
I want to chop his desk, his chairs.
Yeah. We'll chop.
We'll hold him down and chop his pants off.
Can you do that?
I can do that.
All right.
I'm not going to. But I can.
Well, hey, onefirmforlife.com or onebirdforlife.chop. Only one of those works, so you'll figure it out.
If you're
divorced, it's not .chop. It's onebirdforlife.chop.com.
Oh yeah, chop.com. Sorry, not .chop.
If you need to divorce the person you live with,
if you live some old bird, you want to chop her. Don't chop her. Get a divorce instead.
Or dealing with any.
There's no personal injury business right now because nobody's driving.
Yeah. I thought about that. Like all the industry related to driving has got to be,
including us. I mean, that's a lot of what we deal with is motorcycle accidents or car crashes, and nobody's on the road.
Yeah, no, I know. And I wonder, like tire companies, all like the Jiffy Lubes, like that's all going to be.
I represent a lot of automobile dealerships. I mean, and owners and people that work there, but they're down they're sucking wind, man. They're down 70% year to year.
Let's call up a Jiffy Lube and bring all the swords over there and just chop everything in the Jiffy Lube.
Oh.
There's nobody at those places. They're all laid off right now.
We can chop oil cans. We can chop those big oil funnel looking things. I always wanted to get down in one of those things.
Do we play Carl Douglas when we're doing this?
Sure. I'm okay with that.
Kung Fu fighting?
Yeah, we play some little Kung Fu fighting. I would love that.
I want to chop the TV that they're always playing the WB on, and me and some old white guy is sitting there, and we're watching That's So Raven, and I'm like, why not put it on just the news or the Weather Channel?
No. Why even have it in there?
It's like, I don't like this news channel. I like that news channel. If you put on CNN, all the Fox people hate it. If you put on Fox, all the CNN people. If you put on either of them, then MSNBC people hate it.
Yeah.
Don't you put on the local Channel 12 or
Channel 13, News Channel 13.
Yeah, News Channel 13. It's just,
where they just
that's just all lawyer commercials. Channel 13 is all lawyer commercials and weather.
Or just put it on we have the internet. Just put it on anything.
I just put it on horribly graphic porn. Everybody likes that.
ESPN.
Not everybody.
Anyway.
Well, we'll chop you later, Steve.
Yeah.
See you guys.
All right,
you, Steve.
Love you, buddy. Be good. Tell your family we said hey. Okay.
Yeah, do that for yours too, both of you.
All right, man. We'll do it later. All right. Be safe, Stephen Kramer.
I will not tell my family hey.
Yeah, I don't like telling my family I know that guy. I'm kidding. That's a joke.
They don't care. Crystal was like, "Hey, guess who's coming home?" They're like, Gigi? I'm like, no, it's part of our family. You love them. They're like, Mimi? I know. I'll keep guessing. They're like, Aunt Jenny? And they're like, no, back on. No. They went through the cat. You don't know your old man?
How about Garage Cat? Yay, Garage Cat.
Literally went through 15 people before he guessed Dad.
Yeah, this morning I didn't even get a kiss. I leaned in. I just brushed my teeth. And I leaned in. I said, hey, I'm going in a little bit early. Got to set up everything for a gentleman's guide. And I went to kiss Maisie, and she looked at me, and she goes, stinky breath. And I was like, okay, thank you. I just brushed my fucking teeth.
Yeah, my son's called me stinky breath, too.
I can't do anything about it. Yeah,
I'm like, it's not that bad.
Tom, I had just brushed. It smelled like a candy store. And...
like, I'm not chugging cigarettes, drinking the banquet beer. You're like, I don't...
I asked my daughter, I was like, have you smelled your breath? Have you smelled it? Did you brush your teeth? No. And then I go, let me smell your breath. And I smell it, and it smells pretty good. So I'm like, well, everything in me is dying. That's what's happening. Everything inside of me is dying. So the stench you smell is death.
Yeah. My organs, they're letting off a death gas.
Death gas. All right. We hope you guys enjoyed A Gentleman's Guide. Thanks to Steven, onefernforlife.com. And we will see you next month.